Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Malice in the Mitten. I'm Tracy Preston.
And I'm Christine Mulligan.
Tonight's case came to us in a different way. Not through a headline I was chasing, not through a court record I had already bookmarked, not through a listener email waiting in the inbox. This one came to us face to face. Yesterday, while we were at a haunting in Reotown marketplace, we had our vendor table set up, and people were stopping by, talking true crime, Michigan stories, folklore, local history, the whole thing. All the things that make this work feel so personal. And at some point, someone came up to me and asked, "Have you heard the story people call the murder by Yams?" Now, I didn't catch their names, and I wish I had, but I want to acknowledge that person right here at the beginning, because that conversation is what brought Michelle Kukulski's story to us.
Well, the title alone, I want to laugh at it, right? Because I immediately think that yams are in an airway somewhere. And then I dread that yams are somewhere where they shouldn't be. But honestly, I think I actually have heard of this. And I guess I don't want to give away what I know about it, but it wasn't what I thought. And I don't mean to laugh, because this, of course, is a harrowing story. Otherwise, you wouldn't be telling me. But murder by yams, why is that not funny immediately?
Well, it caught my attention. I said, "Say what?" And they're like, "Yeah."
Like, did they eat too many? Did they choke on them? But no, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
Right.
But yeah. Okay. So I'm just saying, that's the kind of detail that could really get us off course.
Exactly. And it wasn't a can of bad yams. It was a can of yams. Now, because once we began looking into it, it became very clear that this is not a story about a can of yams. That detail is part of the court record, and we're not going to erase it. We're not going to pretend it is not part of what happened. But Michelle Ann Kukulski was not a headline. She was not a bizarre detail. She was not the object used against her. Michelle was a mother, a daughter, a sister, a grandmother, a woman who worked as a CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant, caring for other people. A woman whose life had meaning long before the way she died became the thing strangers remembered. And tonight, we are here for Michelle. Now, before we begin, this episode discusses domestic violence, homicide, physical assault, the concealment of a body, and details involving a child, and alleged concerns about that child's safety. We will handle those details with care, but some parts may be difficult to hear.
And as always, this episode is based on publicly available sources, including court records, appellate opinions, law enforcement statements as reported by news outlets, obituary information, and local reporting. When we discuss what someone claimed, alleged, testified to, or argued in court, we will identify in that way.
John Robert O'Connor was convicted by a jury of second-degree murder in the death of Michelle Kukulski. He also pled guilty to disinterment or mutilation of a dead body. His convictions and sentence were affirmed by the Michigan Court of Appeals. Any discussion of motive, state of mind, or disputed details will be framed through the record and reporting available to us, not speculation.
And that's super hard for me sometimes, because my brain runs away from me and my mouth opens up before my brain can catch it. Mm-hmm. So, that's hard for me. So there'll be a little bit of peanut gallery, yip yap probably along the way. But anyway, it does matter, especially in a case where someone tried to explain why they did what they did.
And I love your yip yap. And it does. Because there is a difference between an explanation and an excuse. And there is a difference between fear and the choice to kill. Michelle Ann Kukulski was born on May 5th, 1971 in Detroit, Michigan. She was 46 years old when she died. By 2017, Michelle was living in Grayling in Crawford County, and that stretch of northern Michigan where the roads can feel quiet, the woods can feel endless, and in December, the cold settles in early. Michelle worked as a CNA in Grayling Nursing and Rehabilitation. And I want to pause there for just a moment because being a CNA is not light work. It is physical work, emotional, human work. It is helping people with some of the most vulnerable parts of their day. It is being present when people are sick, aging, recovering, confused, frightened, or in pain. It's the kind of job where care is not just a concept, it's hands-on.
That tells us a lot about who she is and her daily life, too. She was someone people relied on.
Yes, Michelle's obituary remembers her not just by where she worked, but through the people who survived her children, her grandchildren, her mother, siblings, and extended family. She had a life that stretched in many directions. And when a person is killed, that is what gets torn apart. It's not only the final moment, it's every birthday after, every holiday, every ordinary Tuesday when someone would have called her and now cannot. Every grandchild growing up with a missing space where she should have been. Michelle's mother, Jean, would later speak after sentencing and say there was no closure. She said she had lost her youngest daughter and that she would never see her again until she died. And that is the kind of sentence that does not need embellishment, because grief like that tells the truth all by itself. Michelle's former partner was John Robert O'Connor. The court record identifies Michelle as his former partner, and it describes the daughter at the center of this case as their 10-year-old daughter. Michelle and O'Connor were no longer together, but they were still connected through their child, and that matters because so many cases of intimate partner violence do not end when the relationship ends. And we have talked about this in previous episodes that involves domestic violence. Separation becomes the most dangerous point. Sometimes the conflict shifts from the relationship itself to control, custody, access, jealousy, resentment, or the belief that one person still has the right to decide what the other person does.
And apparently in this case, it sounds like the argument was framed around the daughter.
That is exactly right. Now, according to the Michigan Court of Appeals opinion, O'Connor's defense theory at trial was not that he did not kill Michelle. He did not deny that. His defense was that what happened should be considered voluntary manslaughter rather than murder, because he claimed he was provoked. And the provocation he pointed to involved Michelle's boyfriend, Larry Farley. Now, at that time, Michelle had been dating Farley, and court records and local reporting described Farley as someone who had recently been released from prison after a kidnapping conviction involving a young woman. O'Connor claimed he was afraid Michelle would allow their daughter to be around Farley. And according to the appellate record, multiple witnesses testified that O'Connor had expressed concern for months about Farley's conviction.
Okay, well, that's where this case gets super complicated emotionally, I'm assuming, because concerns for a child is something most people understand. But what someone does with that concern is the deciding factor, the dividing line, so to speak. But I don't know, I need to hear more about this exactly, because when you tell me that he just got out of prison and what he was in prison for, you didn't say how long he was in prison, but when he went to prison, one of the last things he did was to kidnap a young woman. And you wouldn't be around my children if that's what you just got out of prison for.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I don't know. I got to hear more.
Right, because he has a point. There's no way in hell I would let my ex, who's dating a convicted person for doing what they did, around my daughter. Like, I get where he's coming from, but not what he did.
Right. But the thing is that you also mentioned dismemberment or something of that, like, of the corpse afterwards. So if he did like a crime of passion and killed it with the yams and then called the cops on himself, then I'd be like, oh, wow, this guy's, he's not off. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I could picture myself there.
Yeah.
But then once you go messing with the corpse and covering up the crime, goodbye. You're going to prison.
Right.
Well, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. But yes, I agree. Like, I could put myself in his shoes up until the point that he didn't rat himself out immediately.
Right.
With the body still in front of him.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. Now, a parent can have fear, a parent can have concern, and a parent can go to court, call law enforcement, seek custody orders, ask for supervised visitation, document the concerns, and tell family, school officials, and push every legal avenue available. But fear for a child does not give someone permission to kill that child's mother. And that is where this case turns. Because O'Connor would later say this was about protecting his daughter, but Michelle is the one who ended up dead. Now, in December of 2017, winter had already settled over northern Michigan. Michelle was still working, still living her life, still part of the world around her. Then, on or after December 7th, 2017, something changed. Michelle's obituary lists her passing as having happened tragically on or after December 7th. Local reporting says she was reported missing days later on December 11th, 2017. And the last known contact with Michelle became a key piece of the investigation. Now, investigators learned that the last time anyone heard from her, Michelle was believed to be on her way to O'Connor's home in Crawford County. The reason reported was painfully ordinary. She was going there to pick up things for her child. That is one of the details that sits so heavy, because so many fatal encounters begin with something ordinary. A pickup, a drop-off, conversation, a child's belongings, a garage, a familiar driveway, a person you used to trust, or had to keep dealing with because life still connected you.
Yeah, and that's an unsettling detail, is that my mind automatically goes to, was he planning this? Because you said he was complaining about this for months. So was he really in the heat of the moment? Or was he planning when she came over, he was going to off her? Because obviously it was an opportune time, because where was their 10-year-old child the whole time that from the 7th to the 11th?
Right.
I mean, I don't know if it was a dramatic setup or not. Like, I don't know if it was just happenstance and they got into an argument when she got there and they were la 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 before that. Or was he plotting and bitching and complaining, obviously, but was he thinking something else? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, for argument's sake, let's just say it was a normal errand. Either way, she didn't know anything about it.
That's right. And that normal errand became the last known movement of Michelle's life. Now, according to the appellate opinion, Michelle was at O'Connor's house. O'Connor later testified about the circumstances leading up to the killing, including that Michelle had helped clean their daughter's room and collect items from his garage. He claimed there was an argument. He claimed Michelle told him that Larry Farley was going to be a part of their daughter's life because Farley was part of Michelle's life. And O'Connor claimed that in that moment, he snapped. That is his word, his framing. But the outcome was not a raised voice. It was not a custody filing. It was not a call to the police. The outcome was violence. The court record states that O'Connor killed Michelle by repeatedly striking her over the head with a can of yams.
Beat to death by a can of yams. That is horrifying and so simplistic in a weird, twisted way. And such a strange object. Like, I don't know. He just had a can of yams handy? Like, wouldn't that be in the back of the pantry, first and foremost? I don't know. I'm just assuming. But I could see why people remember the case that way.
Right.
It's a strange object.
Right. Super strange. Like, I've never heard of anything like it. So was it, like you said, was it planned? Did he put the yams? Like, that was inconspicuous. Who's going to suspect something's going to happen with the can of yams sitting there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is exactly why we have to be careful. Because when an object is unusual, it can become the whole story. People repeat it because it sounds shocking, because it sounds unbelievable, because it has that awful true crime headline quality that sticks in your mind.
Yeah, but can I like really just point out, like, I've been hit on the head with a can before. Not a can of yams, but I've been hit on the head with a can before because it fell out of the top shelf of my pantry, because you don't use canned goods all that often, some of them. So just by falling off of a shelf and hitting me, it dented. So I can't imagine getting beat with it more than 2 or 3 swings before it's crushed. So to die from it, like, I'm kind of stuck on that.
Right. Well, a can of yams isn't small. It's a decent size can. I mean, I'm not a big yam buyer, but they're pretty big cans, so...
Are they thick, though? Like, what kind of canning place did they get these yams from that it can be used as a blunt force object? Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I digress. I'm sorry. I'll get off the can. I don't know why my brain would even want to envision it, but when you're hearing something, your brain kind of envisions it. And immediately after the first maybe 2 hits, I see the can being flat.
Right.
I don't know.
It's
Off topic. Go ahead.
Was it a can or was it a ball jar? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Oh, wow. Well, a glass jar, that would change everything, but they would have called it pickled or jarred. They wouldn't have called it can of yams.
Right.
See, I'm getting stuck on it, just like you said.
Yeah, your mind wants to put it together. Make your own movie out of it so you can wrap your head around it. I know, I've done the same thing. Yeah. Now, Michelle's final moments were not a curiosity. They were violence and terror. They were the result of a man making a choice, not once, but repeatedly. And then, after the assault, there were more choices. Now, according to the court record, after O'Connell struck Michelle several times, he put her into her van. He later testified that he maybe could have called 911, but he didn't. That sentence matters because even through his own testimony, there was a moment where emergency help could have been sought, but instead, Michelle was left. And the next morning, according to the record, O'Connor went out and determined that she had died. Then he moved from violence into concealment. By December 11th, Michelle Kukulski was reported missing, and a missing person case asks a very specific kind of question at the beginning. Where is she? Not what happened yet, not who did it, just where is she? Is she safe? Hurt? Stranded? Is she with someone? Did she leave voluntarily? Is her phone active? Has anyone seen her vehicle? And who was the last person to speak with her? Now, those first hours and days matter. And in Michelle's case, the path led back to John O'Connor. Local reporting states that investigators learned that the last time anyone heard from Michelle was when she was on her way to O'Connor's Crawford County home. O'Connor was taken into custody for questioning on December 14th, 2017. That same day, he was formally charged with her open murder. And at that point, the search for a missing woman had become a homicide investigation.
Can I just say that the shift from being a missing person to homicide for the family, that is devastating. That's got to be devastating. But I also want to point out that from the 7th to the 11th, he had all that time to do what he wanted to do, and all that time, 72 hours, to not turn himself in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, right then and there. I don't even want to hear his side of the story.
Right.
Just tell me where you put her and bye.
Right.
But for the family, a missing person was probably hard for them, because everybody was saying that she probably left on her own, and everybody was defending how she wouldn't have done that. But then once it's pushed to a homicide, I mean, devastation, pure devastation.
Pure devastation. It is the moment where hope changes shape. Until then, families live inside uncertainty. They are terrified. They are still imagining a door opening, a phone call, a hospital, a mistake, a misunderstanding, anything except the absolute worst. But when law enforcement begins moving as though the person is no longer alive, the family is forced into a different kind of fear. And for Michelle's family, that fear became reality. Her body was found in a wooded area in Rose City, and that too is part of this story. The woods, the concealment, the attempt to move her out of sight. The idea that after taking her life, O'Connor still had enough control, enough awareness, enough time to decide what to do next. Now, according to the appellate opinion, he wrapped Michelle's body in a comforter and concealed her in the woods. He moved her van. He disposed of her cell phone, and he burned the can used in the assault. Now, these are not the actions of someone simply frozen in shock. These are actions after violence, choices after the violence, steps taken in the aftermath. And this is the first turning point. Michelle is missing, then Michelle is found. John O'Connor is no longer only the former partner she went to see, he is the man who admitted he killed her. But the legal question becomes, what kind of killing was this? Murder? Manslaughter? Was this man pushed beyond control, as he would argue? Or was this a man who had been angry for months? Who knew exactly what he feared and exactly how to make Michelle pay for it? Because in court, O'Connor's defense would not be that Michelle was alive when he last saw her. It would not be that someone else did this. His defense would be built around the claim that he snapped, and that is where we go next. Inside the argument, inside the claimed motive, inside the difference between fear and control, and why a jury ultimately decided that John O'Connor was guilty of second-degree murder. Because in court, O'Connor's defense would not be that Michelle was alive when he last saw her. The question became whether her death was murder or whether the jury would see it as voluntary manslaughter. Because voluntary manslaughter requires more than anger, more than jealousy, and more than fear, more than a person saying later, I lost control. The law looks at provocation. It asks whether there was something that would cause a reasonable person to act out of passion rather than judgment. And O'Connor's defense centered on one claim, that he was provoked by Michelle's insistence that their 10-year-old daughter would be allowed around Larry Farley, the man Michelle was dating. The Michigan Court of Appeals later summarized his trial theory this way. O'Connor did not deny killing Michelle, but argued he committed voluntary manslaughter rather than murder because of that claimed provocation.
Okay, so he admitted the act. I haven't heard any descriptions or details about why he did all the other things after he beat her to death, but he wanted the jury to see it as something less than murder and then concealment and all of that. Like, you're not even talking about all the things he did in the 3 days after. So, like, what was the point?
I don't know. I think he was hoping that he was pushed and he snapped, but he's not thinking about the rest of everything that he did. Like, who's going to see that as, oopsie, I snapped out?
Yeah, and technically, if she was alive after the initial beating with the can, like he said something about that, the next morning is when he realized she was dead. So he left her lying there, which is also a crime.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just crime after crime after crime after crime. I don't even know why we're having a trial. Like, I mean, I get it. That's the legal system.
Yeah, let me just leave her here to suffer, because I think that was also part of it. She wasn't dead when he left her there.
Sadistic.
Yeah.
Just sadistic, just purely sadistic. And the fact that he's trying to excuse it for a lesser sentence, like that's all he cares about.
Mm-hmm.
Get the hell out of here.
I know it.
I'm still stuck on where the hell the kid was for 3 days before they even claimed her missing.
I don't know. Nothing that I had said who this little girl was with.
That's another fact, though, in his supposed defense, was that he snapped over the safety of his child, but then for 72 hours, he didn't give his child a nary a thought because he had just killed her mother and she wasn't with him.
Right.
So where's the care for your kid, mister?
Right.
Oh, angry now.
I know. No, the argument is not I didn't do it. Sometimes the argument is, yeah, I did it, but you should understand why I did it. And that is where we have to be extremely careful. Understanding the argument does not mean accepting it. Explaining the defense does not mean validating it. And repeating what O'Connor claimed does not mean Michelle becomes responsible for what he chose to do. Now, Larry Farley is one of the complicated figures in this story. He was Michelle's boyfriend at the time of her death. Court records and reporting describe him as someone who had recently been released from prison after a kidnapping conviction involving a young woman. Now, according to the appellate opinion, O'Connor claimed this was the reason he feared Farley being around his daughter. And I get that. And this is where the timeline gets confusing if people are repeating the story casually. Because when I first heard the case mentioned, the year 1988 came up. But Michelle was not killed in 1988. Michelle died in December of 2017. The 1988 connection appears to belong to Larry Farley's prior criminal history, not to the date of Michelle's murder.
I'm thinking that you think that's a big correction because it completely changes how you understand the case. But for me, it doesn't change anything. The question becomes, if he was recently released, let's say 2016, and he went to prison in 1988, he didn't just kidnap that kid, you know what I'm saying? I would feel the same way. However, if I want to put myself in the mind frame of a demented person and I want to commit murder, I'm not going to kill the mother of my kid. I'm going to go kill Larry Farley.
Right. You killed the wrong one.
Yeah. Like, if that was your fear, go to the source.
Right.
Face your fear, bro. Face your fear.
Face your fear, bro.
Yeah, face your fear, bro. Go to the source and go toe to toe. But to kill your ex-partner out of fear for your kid, like, none of this makes sense for me. Like, I don't even understand why it was entertained.
Right.
Like, kind of defense stuff just makes me angry at the legal system that it allows that kind of crap.
Right.
Like, it should be so much simpler. Dude, are you kidding me? Not only did you beat her to death, not only did you beat her senseless, that she laid on your floor and died within the next day, but then after she died, that you left her there suffering for God knows how many hours, then you disposed of her body, concealed it. I don't know. I still don't know what he did with her van. I know you say he disposed of the phone, but like, that's a lot. There was a lot of steps in those 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them are years and years in prison for each of them. So the fact that you're going to come to the table with some cockamamie, oh my goodness, I just snapped because I was fear for my child's life because of the argument that we had about it when she was here, even though I've been bitching and complaining about it and gearing up for violence for over the past however long he got out of prison for. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing just seems torrid, lame, and hella drawn out. And the fact that our legal system allows defenses like this, it really does. I'm getting a headache. Like, seriously. Like, what in the actual?
I know. All right, now, that is why fact-checking of the dates matter, because if we carry the wrong year forward, we don't just make a small mistake, we distort the whole story. Michelle's life ended in 2017. Her family lost her in 2017. O'Connor was tried and convicted years after that, and Farley's past became part of O'Connor's explanation for why he said he was angry and afraid. But again, we have to keep coming back to this. Farley's record is not the reason Michelle died. John O'Connor's choices are the reason Michelle died.
Absolutely. It really, in my opinion, has nothing to do with the Farley guy.
Right.
O'Connor was demented. And that matters because even if someone had concerns about who was going to be around that child, there are a million other ways, including all the legal ways, to defend your position or respond to something like that. Murder, getting beat with a can of yams, and then all of the other things, like I keep mentioning, that are driving me crazy, that is not mentioned more in the story for 72 hours afterwards. All of those choices for 4 days, not a nary of concern for your child. So get the hell out of here.
Right. There are custody motions, protective orders, police reports, court petitions, documentation, family court, emergency hearings. They are systems that can be frustrating, imperfect, slow, and sometimes deeply flawed, but they exist because the alternative cannot be violence. O'Connor claimed he was trying to protect his daughter, but the person he attacked was Michelle. The person he silenced was Michelle. The person whose body was moved, hidden, and left in the woods was Michelle. Now again, according to the appellate opinion, multiple witnesses testified that O'Connor had expressed concerns for months about Larry Farley's conviction and about the idea of Farley being around the child. And that detail matters because it undercuts the idea of a single, sudden moment that appeared out of nowhere. This was not a fear he had never voiced before. This was not a name he had never heard. This was not information that landed in his lap for the first time in that garage. According to the record, this concern had been present for months. And that is where the prosecution had room to argue that what happened was not simply one shocking instant of passion. It was part of a longer emotional buildup, a longer conflict, a longer period of resentment and fixation.
A longer buildup of rage for demented mindsets that need control of all situations. So, if he had been worried for months, and then there had also been months where he could have taken other steps, he was building himself here. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he was readying himself for this very thing. So that's what infuriates me, that he's even being entertained with malarkey out of concern for his child. Get the hell out of here. It was nothing but a control freak getting to the end of his rage rope, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he was waiting for the right opportunity, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Now that is the quiet truth sitting underneath this case. If the concern had existed for months, then so had the opportunity to act legally. And that does not mean legal options are always easy. It does not mean custody issues are simple. It does not mean every fear gets addressed quickly. But it does mean violence was not the only path in front of him. It was the path he chose. And when Michelle came to his home that December, the argument O'Connor described was not born in a vacuum. It came into a space already filled with anger, fear, and control. O'Connor testified that Michelle had come to his property and that she helped clean their daughter's room and collect belongings from the garage. Again, that detail is ordinary. A child's room, items in a garage, two former partners still tied together through parenting. This is the kind of thing divorced or separated parents do all the time. They arrange pickups, they exchange school clothes, gather toys, argue about schedules, fight about boundaries. And most of the time, people walk away. Angry maybe, hurt, frustrated, but alive. According to the appellate opinion, O'Connor claimed Michelle told him that Farley was going to be around their daughter because Farley was part of her life. He claimed that statement provoked him, but the record also shows what happened next. He repeatedly struck Michelle over the head with a can of yams, and that detail is bluntly stated in the Court of Appeals opinion and was also reported in early local coverage of the case.
The repetitive part of that, I have a feeling, matters in this whole case too.
It does, because repetition means time. Even if that time is brief, it still exists. One blow is violence. Repeated blows are violence that continues. And after that violence, the choices continued too. O'Connor did not call 911. He did not try to get Michelle medical help, and he did not run to a neighbor. He didn't call a family member and say, "Hey, something terrible has happened." Instead, he placed Michelle in her van. Later, he wrapped her body in a comforter, concealed her in the woods, moved her van, disposed of her phone, and burned the can used in the assault. Those details become very important when we talk about intent, awareness, and accountability, because those are not just emotional reactions, those are steps, one after another. Now, there is a phrase we use sometimes in true crime, after the fact behavior. It sounds clinical, almost too clean. But after the fact behavior can tell us a lot. What does someone do after the violence ends? Do they seek help? Do they panic and confess, call 911? Do they try to save the person? Or do they hide the evidence? Do they move the body? Do they create distance between themselves and what happened? In Michelle's case, the record shows concealment. Her body was found in a wooded area in Rose City. Local reporting after O'Connor's conviction also noted that an additional charge, disinterment, mutilation, defacement, or carrying away of a human body, had been added, and that O'Connor pleaded guilty to that additional charge. And that charge matters because it speaks to what happened after Michelle was already dead. It tells us this case did not end in the garage. It continued into the van, into the woods, into the attempted disposal of evidence, into the days when Michelle's family did not know where she was.
Exactly. And that is the part that feels especially cruel, that her family had to search and wonder and wait all the time he knew. And that whole time, that kid that he was so concerned about was missing her mom. And he didn't care.
That's right. And that kind of waiting is a trauma all its own. Because a missing person case traps a family between hope and dread. They are calling, searching, checking phones, asking friends, watching the door, wondering if they've missed something, wondering if they should have known, wondering if the next call will bring relief or devastation. And all the while, according to the record, O'Connor knew Michelle was not missing in the way her family feared. She had been killed, and he had concealed her. At trial, the jury heard O'Connor's defense, the claim of provocation, about Larry Farley, about O'Connor's stated concern for his daughter, the circumstances as O'Connor and the evidence laid them out, and they had to decide, was this voluntary manslaughter or was this murder? In April of 2019, after a week-long trial, the jury found John Robert O'Connor guilty of second-degree murder. Local reporting stated that the jury deliberated for nearly 4 hours before reaching that verdict. He was not convicted of first-degree premeditated murder, but the jury also did not accept that this should be reduced to voluntary manslaughter. They landed on second-degree murder. That means the jury found the killing was intentional or done with a level of malice recognized under the law. but without the prosecution proving first-degree premeditation beyond a reasonable doubt.
So, thankfully, they rejected the idea that his emotions excused or reduced everything that he did. So, kudos to the jury. But second-degree murder, it's okay. That's still a lot of jail time, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And we're going to get to that. Now, this is the way the verdict speaks, and the Court of Appeals later upheld the conviction. The appellate court reviewed the case and affirmed O'Connor's convictions and sentence. So when we tell this story, we can say this clearly. John Robert O'Connor was convicted of second-degree murder Michelle Kukulski's death. He also pleaded guilty to the charge related to what happened to Michelle's body after she was killed. And the legal system did not accept his attempt to frame the killing as manslaughter. And this is where I want to pause, because there is a dangerous idea buried in this case that the violence can be reframed as protection. That if someone says, "I was afraid for my child," then everything that follows becomes understandable. But protection does not look like killing a child's mother, like hiding a body, leaving a family in agony for days. And protection does not look like removing the one person who can speak for herself and then asking the court to see your violence through your fear.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But in this case, it also left that child with a lifetime of consequences. For her mother was murdered and her father was the one that did it. So for him to then go on trial and even remotely claim that she was the catalyst for his passionate response and murdering her mother, get the F out of here. Evil.
Yep.
Soulless and evil.
That's right. Selfish.
Ugh.
That little girl lost her mother, and her father was convicted of killing her. That is a devastation no child should have to carry. So when we talk about this case, we have to be careful not to let O'Connor's stated concern become the center of the story. The center is Michelle. The center is a life taken. The center is the family left behind. And it is the fact that whatever fear, anger, jealousy, or resentment that existed in that home, Michelle did not deserve to die because of it. After the conviction came sentencing. And sentencing is where the courtroom changes. The legal arguments have already been made. The jury has already spoken. The conviction is already entered. But now, the family has a chance to speak to the harm. Not just the facts, the harm. And in Michelle's case, the harm was enormous. Her mother, Jean, spoke publicly after sentencing. Local reporting quoted her saying the family was relieved and that they had hoped O'Connor would receive enough time that he could not be released until he was much older. Now that is a mother speaking from a place no mother should ever have to stand. Because sentencing does not bring a person back. It does not restore the holidays, erase the last days of searching, and it does not undo the way Michelle was taken from them. But it can mark accountability. It can say officially and publicly that what happened was not justified, not excused, not minimized, and not forgotten. On July 12, 2019, John Robert O'Connor stood before the court for sentencing. By then, a jury had already found him guilty of second-degree murder. He had also pleaded guilty to disinterment or mutilation of a dead body, and those words are hard to hear, but they matter because they reflect the two different layers of harm. First, the killing, then what happened after Michelle was already dead. The trial court sentenced O'Connor to 375 to 600 months in prison for second-degree murder, and that is 31 years and 3 months to 50 years. For the disinterment or mutilation of a dead body, he received 57 to 120 months, or 4 years and 9 months to 10 years. The Michigan Court of Appeals later listed both sentences and affirmed them.
And the sentence itself tells the story in two parts, which is good.
And when we talk about the second charge, we're not including it for shock. We are including it because it speaks to accountability. After Michelle was killed, she was not treated with dignity. She was moved, concealed, left in the woods. Her family was left in uncertainty while the person responsible knew where she was. That was a separate cruelty, and the court recognized it as a separate crime. After sentencing, Michelle's mother, Jean Kukulski, spoke publicly about what the family had endured. She said they were relieved, but relief is not the same as healing. Relief does not mean the grief goes away. It means one part of the nightmare has finally been answered. Local reporting quoted Jean saying that O'Connor had put a lot of burden on everyone and that the family had hoped he would receive enough time that he would not be eligible for parole until he was much older. And that is a mother trying to measure safety in years. Not because any number of years bring Michelle back, but because when someone has taken your daughter's life, time becomes one of the only protections the court can offer.
Yeah, that's a fine line, though. Measuring safety in years, it's kind of heartbreaking.
It is, and Jean's words tell us something important. Families do not walk out of sentencing restored. They walk out with a ruling. They walk out with a number. They walk out knowing the person responsible is being held accountable. But they do not walk out with the person they lost. Michelle is gone forever. Her children were still without their mother. Grandchildren still without their grandmother. Siblings were still without their sister. And every person who loved her still had to figure out how to live in the world after violence had carved her out of it. Michelle's obituary remembered her as a 46-year-old woman from Grayling, born in Detroit, a CNA at Grayling Nursing and Rehabilitation, and a mother survived by her children and grandchildren. Those are not side details. Those are proof of a full life, a life connected to others, a life that mattered. After the conviction and sentence, O'Connor, as you can imagine, appealed. And the appeal gives us a clear look at how he continued to challenge the outcome. He appealed his jury trial conviction for second-degree murder. He also challenged issues connected to the manslaughter instruction, his sentence, and the way the trial court handled the case. But on August 26, 2021, the Michigan Court of Appeals affirmed his convictions and sentence. And that means the appellate court did not disturb the jury's verdict. It did not say the trial had to be redone. It did not say the sentence had to be changed. It affirmed. And that matters because the appeal was another place where O'Connor's legal argument had to be measured against the record. The court reviewed the claim that this killing should have been understood differently. The court looked at what the jury heard, and the conviction stood. There is something that happens in cases like this that we have to be very conscious of. The person who killed gets to speak through police interviews, testimony, defense strategy, appeals, and through the legal record. But the person who died does not get to answer. Michelle could not tell us what she felt in that garage, whether she saw the danger rising or whether she thought she could calm him down. She could not tell us whether she believed this would be just another argument, another tense exchange between former partners, another moment she could get through and walk away from. She could not tell the jury what she wanted for her daughter or talk about her relationship with Larry Farley in her own words. She could not defend herself from being placed inside O'Connor's explanation, and that is why our framing matters, because if we are not careful, the only voice left in the room is his. Now, when that person at Haunting at Riotown Marketplace asked me if I had heard of the murder by Yams, I understood why that phrase had stuck. It was shocking, bizarre. the kind of phrase people remember even when they forget the name of the woman who died. And that is the problem. Because true crime has a way of turning unusual details into shorthand. The suitcase case, the staircase case, the antifreeze case, the Yams case. But shorthand can become erasure. It can flatten someone's entire life into the object used to end it. And that is not what we want to do here.
Yeah, no, of course not. Not on Malice. Not with Tracy telling the story.
Not here, baby. Here, the object is evidence. The woman is the story. And Michelle's story is not strange because of a can. It is devastating because a man who claimed to be protecting his daughter took that daughter's mother away from her. It's devastating because a family spent days searching and hoping while Michelle had already been killed. It's devastating because after violence there was concealment. It's devastating because grief did not end at sentencing. And it is devastating because people still need to hear that concern. Jealousy, resentment, and control can dress themselves up in the language of protection. But protection is not possession. Protection is not punishment. Protection is not violence. And we are not going to dwell on Michelle and O'Connor's daughter beyond what is necessary. She was a child. She did not choose the adults around her. She did not choose the conflict, and she did not choose the courtroom, and she certainly did not choose the lifelong consequences of what happened. But we cannot ignore that she was central to the argument O'Connor tried to make. The court record describes her as their 10-year-old daughter. O'Connor claimed his fear for her was what drove him, but the result of his actions was that she lost her mother. And her father was convicted of killing her mother. And that is terrible. That is the terrible contradiction at the heart of this case. He claimed protection, but he created devastation. And the strange detail people remember should never be louder than Michelle's name.
Michelle Kukulski.
Michelle Kukulski. That is the name we carry forward. Now, before we close, I want to say this clearly. If anything in Michelle's story feels familiar, if you are dealing with threats, intimidation, escalating arguments, control, stalking, custody, conflict that feels unsafe, or a former partner who refuses to accept boundaries, please do not ignore that feeling. You are not overreacting because you want to be safe. You are not being dramatic because something feels wrong. You are allowed to ask for help. And if you are in immediate danger, call 911.
If you are experiencing domestic violence or need help safety planning, you can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Text START, S-T-A-R-T, to 88788, or go to thehotline.org. And if you are in Michigan, you can also contact local domestic violence shelters, victim advocacy centers, law enforcement victim services, or the Michigan Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence for help finding resources near you. You do not have to wait until violence happens to take your fear seriously. Your safety matters, your instincts matter, and your life matters.
Michelle's story came to us through a passing conversation at a vendor table. A stranger asked if I had heard the story people sometimes called the murder by Yams. And now, after turning every stone we could, I hope we have done what we came here to do. Not repeat a shocking phrase, not build an episode around the object, not let Michelle disappear behind the thing used to kill her, but to say her name, to tell the truth, to look at the warning signs, understand how control can disguise itself as concern, and to remember that every case we cover is someone's real life, someone's mother, daughter, sister, grandmother, and friend. Michelle Ann Kukulski was 46 years old. She worked caring for others. She had a family who loved her. And in December of 2017, her life was taken by John Robert O'Connor, the man later convicted of second-degree murder in her death. But tonight, we do not end with him. We end with Michelle Ann Kukulski. May her name be remembered louder than the headline. May her family feel that she is not forgotten. And may every person listening remember this: concern is not control. Fear is not permission. And love should never leave someone hidden in the woods. I'm Tracy Preston.
And I'm Christine Mulligan.
And this is Malice in the Mitten,
where the story matters,
but the truth matters more.
Like and subscribe on all platforms possible. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming and listening to us, and we'll see you back this Wednesday on Round Robin.
We will see you on Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.